Bless your heart. Sorry, I
Good
it's always
morning.
going to
It's
start.
okay.
That was too funny. I was going to send you a link. I thought, wait, Diana recorded does this. So,
Yeah, I had to make
um,
sure yeah, I'm recording. Okay.
oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was an interesting letter. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's
I, you know,
wow. So she what? All of a sudden she's putting this full court
well,
press on you that she.
I don't remember what it was. She sent me a text, said something about the flash drive project. What we did was we took all of Anne's audios and instead of them being on 250 CDs that she would burn and sell as they're ordered, she had the idea a year ago to put them on flash drives. And so she contacted a guy in New York and, figured out what we needed, well, what she needed to do. Well, it just sat there on her desk for 6, 9 months. And she was talking about it. And when I was out there helping her, I said, well, I've got time to burn. I don't mind
So you
doing.
actually, that's right. You spent time with
So
her.
I compiled all the audios, digital format. She mailed me the complete set of discs, like a master copy. And so I, put all this for, and I compiled it and organized everything into seven
Hours,
flash
how
drives.
many hours do I can't even imagine how many hours
I
that.
don't know, maybe 80 hours, something. I didn't even keep track because I was thrilled to do it.
Yeah,
It's,
no, that's
it's
right.
an
That's right.
exciting idea. And I thought, well, not only will it save her time in having to burn discs and the amount of space that it eats up in her office is mind blowing. It's like a whole 8 by 4 foot table just filled with discs. And, I was like, wow, that's just like a whole lot of clutter. And yeah, so I compiled it.
That's
And
not going to
so
sit well
when
with
I
me.
was out there, I said, well, let me, take it from here. I'll put it together. She hadn't even started it. She just found out that it exists and you can do it. And here's a contact. So I started calling the guy and figuring out what I had to do. And so the project is finally like 2 weeks ago, she got master copies to check them. And she found some artwork error and we found a couple of, data errors. And, of course, it's me that needs to communicate with him because she's just so busy. She can't do this. But she took care of the artwork. Well, actually, someone else did, but she was the go between for the artwork. I took care of the data. And I thought, well, that's exciting because then people can have a set of 7 flash drives, each one in its own container, like you would buy a CD of music. You just open it up, there's the flash drive. Oh, it's cool. So not only will it just save her time, energy, and she'll be able to resell them as a new product. And I thought, well, she'll get some income because she doesn't make very much money. She doesn't even make much enough money to even file taxes. So I'm like, well, I'm happy to do that for you. I've got time to burn. It's always fascinating how she would just, these little tasks that might take literally 30 seconds, she needed me to do. It's just a simple email. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I would do it. And so last 2 weeks ago, she got the masters. They had errors, so we sent them back. And so just the other, what was it, Friday? She sent me a text saying, "Oh, well, something that they're going to be ready." And I sent her a text back. I said, "Well, I got some time to burn if you want to chat." I don't even know why I said that. And so she called me like 2, 3 minutes later. I was like, "Great." Thinking we're just gonna have a nice conversation. And so I started talking about you and where I was at with the therapy. She didn't ask. And I said, told her about her and how she was a survivor and had this piece of land and wanted to do this retreat center and or not or healing center, and that Jon offered to me to, he's going to hook us up. And I said, it's really exciting. I might be going there 2, 3, 4 times a year, whatever. I said, I'm really thrilled. She said, oh, okay. Not real whole lot of enthusiasm. And she goes, well, I need to talk to you about something. I was like, okay. And the first thing she says is, well, before I say anything, I need you to promise confidentiality that you won't talk to Jon about this. And I was like, okay. And, and then she just, and then, oh, John or Chris. And
Oh,
I was
whoa.
like, wow, okay. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm going to make this promise to you, but I will speak with my husband about it, at
No
least.
secrets away from your husband.
Right. I thought at least I'm going to talk to my husband about it, whether you like it or not. I'm just not going to tell you.
So
And I
that's
thought, well, here I go having to have a secret from her now, So she's putting me in this position. And
bizarre.
so she
Bizarre.
just launches into this whole thing about how she, based on her research, which was limited, but she checked out all these things and she just thinks X, Y, and Z. And she's couching it very gently. And she's, you know, I'm doing it because I'm, concerned and I want to make sure you're okay and just couching it and all this stuff. And, and the minute she brought it up, and said to me that she felt that you were dangerous. She felt that you were a narcissist and felt that you were this and that. And I'm feeling it right now, just remembering it. I just got this a massive anxiety, just the biggest ball of anxiety. And so I'm in, as she's talking, I'm going, okay, parts. I know you feel scared. I get it. I disagree. But Parsons saying, but what if it's true? What if it's true?
No,
Blah,
that's
blah,
right. That's right.
And I'm like, I understand. So we're going to approach this in a very neutral fashion. We're going to do our own research because she's not willing to, And so I'm having this internal conversation with 100 people or
Yeah.
181. How, I don't even, all of it. It was like an avalanche, an earthquake, and tsunami all at once inside. And so as we're going through, the conversation, she'd bring up at a point, and I go, well, but blah blah blah, Diana, my mind's made up. So I'm thinking, okay, we're not open to that. She'd go on with
Oh,
another point, and I'd go, but Melissa, da da da. No, I'm sorry. My mind cannot be, probably 8 or 10 times. I'm sorry, my mind's made up. She didn't say this, but this was the vibe I got. I know best. You're not going to change my mind, and blah blah blah. But I just want you to. And I said to her, I said, fine. I said, I'll tell you right now. You've put me on guard. You've placed me in a very uncomfortable situation. You've
yeah.
X, Y, and Z. I said, but I'm going to check into it. I said, what are the specific details? What are
Mhm.
these articles? And who, blah, well, I don't know. I said, well, you're not just going to throw
Wait, she was
this
connected
on
with
my
Alan,
lap without details. As I
right?
pressed her, and I'm writing down. So
And
finally, it
she's a
all relates back,
researcher,
huh?
and she's a researcher.
And before she even met Alan, you know what she did? She was an editor for writers in Hollywood. She rubbed elbows with Hollywood people with her husband. So I'm like, well, she knows how to scrutinize a document. She knows how to research. She knows that when someone uses a specific adjective, that they mean that specific adjective. Do you know what I mean? She's an editor for writers. Anyway, so I finally pressed her enough and I'm jotting down these notes. I'm like, okay, I'm going to look into all of this. I said, because if this man
Yeah,
is,
you need to.
I was like, I need to do my due diligence. I said, I did a cursory thing when you brought it up 6 weeks ago. I said, I read the article, but I frankly, because of where it came from, it didn't hold any weight with me because it's about the very people that John's exposing are attacking him. It seems like a no-brainer to me, right? So I didn't really dig any further. Well, apparently she had listened to Nicole's interview and she had this and you know, and I said, Melissa, don't you find it suspicious that these two people felt the need to call you personally?
There we
And
go.
at the time, I didn't even know that they were part of I didn't even register that they were
That's
part
what
of the
they've been doing. They went through,
article.
yeah,
And I'm
they've
like
gone.
thinking, how can you not see the
Yeah.
connections here? And the
Mhm.
fascinating thing that after I did all my research is I was like, Alan would talk about this. He says, when you go into an article to look at something and they provide you with links, and the link leads you right back to the first place, and it takes you in circles. He said, right there's a problem. And that's exactly what's going on here. And I thought, how could she not recognize this? Is what I was thinking. And so I'm doing the research. I'm look at this stuff.
Well,
This
sure.
little notebook with the interviews. And I'm writing down the timestamp with Nicole's comment. And I'm going, but well, wait a minute. 30 minutes ago you said you were poor, but now you're talking about so and so coming and taking $30,000 worth of trinkets. And then in another statement, how all these valuables were worth $100,000. I'm like, you weren't poor. I said, so, and I can shoot holes through like, I think 20 different topics that she brought up. And I'm going, okay, well, Melissa obviously didn't take notes when she was listening to it. Okay, well, I did. And let me give you the timestamps of each thing, and every time she did a bash on Christiana, tick mark, timestamp, tick mark, timestamp. I, And it was funny. I'm just now remembering Melissa said something about, she said, well, I'm not good with the details. That's why I need you to help. This one little crisis she had with the flash drive thing. And I went into my files and threw it together in under 2 minutes. And I'm thinking, whatever, but okay, I agreed to help you. We're at the end point. Let's just finish this and get it off my plate. So I did it. And I was just gobsmacked. And so once I got past all of okay, I've proven to myself that his daughter's full of shit and exaggerating. Uh, Barbara Roberts, are you aware of her? Because this,
And how many minutes have Barbara and I interacted with?
I'm like, and I'm remembering in the phone call, she said, well, this woman, she's a doctor from Australia, called me and had the same
Oh,
opinion.
Barbara, wait, Barbara, that's good for me to know. Barbara's been making phone calls?
Yes.
No,
And I looked at her website and I'm going, nowhere, anywhere.
Barbara was
When?
soliciting me to come over to the States to set up shop. She wanted churchprotect.org at the time to me. No, it's through survivorsport.net. She wanted me to arrange where I was going to be the whatever the government form is, where you sponsor an employee because you have no resources, meaning that's the best in terms of human resources.
Was
She was
she
going to have
actually a
me
doctor? Because I could.
sponsor me. I don't even know what and the one thing she disclosed is the reason she can write as much as she does, whatever. I had 3 conversations with her, 2 of which were a couple of minutes long. Brandon Showalter has never talked to me other than me interview.
I was like, I didn't even find her credentials that she's actually
She
a
has no
doctor.
credentials. She
I was
thought
like,
I was wonderful, right? She thought I was wonderful until she says, uh, she maybe I referenced John MacArthur, and she said, who's a pastor, very good. But anyways, she says John MacArthur. It was out of the blue. This was years ago, and but this was after she solicited me. Before I know, because she was very interested in my work. The contact was Jimmy Hinton. And
well,
so
okay, yeah.
we were going to
Oh, so
interview
they
her.
are in a big circle jerk
It's a huge circle, and the one common denominator is this, Diana. None of these people who are airing supposed grievances, none of them have ever called me.
And
So
that was
they
my
take it
point
to the
too. I'm
air,
like,
and every single one of them are being unmasked behind the scenes. When I finally dump this stuff, I have facts that I'm delivering. Facts.
I know. And I
And
was just
so
like,
it's
how can you
surreal.
not see
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. No,
And
it's
so once
unbelievable.
so once I get past all of the details of the thing, and my mind's just spinning and spinning and spinning, and
I'm
the
just going to
parts are
ask.
just putting things together. And I was like, this isn't about Jon. This, for me, I said, this is about the fact that will not listen to me, number one,
And I said,
doesn't
I'm
give
just
a
typing.
damn
I
what
tried
my,
to turn the air on up here. It's not working. I'm going to ask Susan to turn the air on. That's
sure,
okay.
yeah. And I thought, if you're my friend, you're going to be interested in my point of view, which she had no interest in whatsoever.
That's, you know,
And I was like, well, am I supposed to just be your lackey for the rest of my life? That's what I couldn't think of the word till this morning. And
yeah.
it dawned on me. I thought, that's what she wants. She wants me to bow before the God of Alan Watt, who now exists in her. And I was remembering something else. She did this interview with this woman 2 weeks ago, and it was about the book. I don't know if you know who Matthias Desmet is from, I think, Belgium. When COVID first was going on, he got on the bandwagon and wrote a book. Uh, anyway, so I bought his book and read it, and I thought, well, this is pretty credible. I said, there's a few holes in here, but okay. And I brought it up with Melissa, or she brought it up because it was a part of the zeitgeist at the time.
Mhm.
And I said, well, yeah, I bought it and read it. And she's like, well, I just completely disagree with him because, he doesn't hold the individual person responsible, and it's all about groupthink. And I was like, well, I can understand and agree with that. But she wasn't willing to go beyond that. And we never brought it up, talked about it again. I just kind of dropped it. And I will admit at the time, I think I deferred to her opinion because I wasn't where I'm at now with all my parts present and alive and saying, well, we're not going to be on the back burner anymore. We're not going to defer to anybody else
There you go.
anymore. So I've changed. And so she's interviewing this woman a couple of weeks ago. Guess what that's about? This particular book. And she's interviewing a doctor from, I think, Australia, very well credentialed woman. And now Melissa says, well, I admit 2 years ago I had this opinion, but now I've changed my mind. And I'm watching this interview going, okay, so you could talk to a doctor and change your mind, but
Hmm.
I'm nobody, so my opinion doesn't matter. And so that clicked with me a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just thinking, it's her ego because it just because there's she wants me to be her lackey, and that's what I have been up until now. And I thought when Chris said the other day, well, she's threatened by you. And I was thinking, threatened by what? I've got 30 views. Who cares? And I'm propaganda, I'm forwarding Alan's work and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Why would she care? And then
Right.
it dawned on me that if things go well, I mean, because I'm at the point where I'm kind of bored with her channel too. It's just this repetitive mundane, secular government kind of nonsense. And she's, like I said, she's trying to recreate what Alan did, and it's impossible. It's impossible. And she doesn't have his depth and breadth of knowledge to pull it off. And her viewers are not increasing, her subscriptions are not increasing. And it dawned on me that if I continue to do what I'm doing and my channel grows, that it will also move Alan forward in a way it never would with her. And it clicked on me, that's what she's threatened about. It might not be happening right now, but it might down the road.
Yeah,
But
that's
I'm
right.
like, why would she not want that to happen? Well, because it's not happening because of her. And I'm like, but this isn't about you. This is about Alan's legacy. It's not about you and his legacy. It's about Alan, is my point of view. But I think for it, it suddenly dawned on me that she's so wrapped up in her ego. And then I remembered when we were I was there for 2 weeks and she was showing me around town. And she was
Hmm.
talking about in her family, prolific artists and musicians and whatever. And in this little town of theirs, they're very well known. There's, I think, actually a street named after them.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
one of the artists in their family did murals all over the town. She's driving me around, Sean. She's really proud. I'm thinking, wow, that's awesome. But I got to thinking this morning, well, if you're growing up in this small town in Texas and your family's all over the place, your ego is going to get pumped. You're going to think you're the shit. And she just spent the past 15 years in obscurity with her husband being, famous in his world, but she was non-existent. And now she's in a legal battle. She can't she can't get the rights to the websites because Alan kept her so hidden. She has to prove that she existed. She has to
Mhm.
literally prove that she existed with him as his woman. And she's been in this legal thing for ever since he died, which is almost 4 years now. And so, that's got to smart. That's got to hurt the ego. I mean, she even had to dig and find some really personal things just to give it to the court, which in order to prove that she was Alan's woman, if you get where I'm going. And I'm like, well, that's got to really it's really hurt. You know what I mean? It's poking you, saying, and here's this man that we all revere and respect and whatever. And her brother David is, does his own thing. He's a lawyer in a different area. And she said, well, David said to me that he's furious that Alan put me in this position at all, that he should have done the right thing by me. He should have married you, or he should have willed these things to you. He said, the fact that you're sitting here after dedicating your life to him for 15 years in obscurity, and now you're trying to make a living on him, and no one knows you exist, and you're in this legal battle. He said, I have no respect for Alan. He did not do right by you. And I'm like, I agree. Why not marry you, or why not will it to you? Of all people on the planet to know that evil people, which apparently his two sisters, elderly sisters in the UK are, that's who she's in a legal battle with. They want the websites and the intellectual property. Melissa's like, I don't care about it anyway. I just want the
That's
intellectual property.
so as a matter of fact, I gave the Susan and this man Osborne. Up comes this little piece. They
Well,
can't
and
figure.
all these months you've been talking about Matt Asborn, I didn't know who the fuck he was
Oh
till
yeah,
I went into this website. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now.
but meaning I gave the house as Susan and I were doing our taxes to protect ourselves because that's the level that these folks are going.
Yeah.
Uh, I want Susan to make sure that it's separated so they can't do anything to our finances like that. So for $5, right? The accountant, I said, how can we put the house solely in Susan's name? So that when and if they come after, they're doing everything else. Yesterday, I spent an hour with two state people and the state attorney because they're trying to take my sex offender treatment certification.
Yeah, I
Yep.
know. I
I got a
know.
letter on Thursday saying you're terminated. I said, where's this coming from? Okay, um, so
So you can't
when
even
they're
do that now.
well, you should have seen in the meeting. I record the whole darn thing. The attorney's looking because all the points I'm making, you could tell it's like, oh crud.
You've got
Including I
your
asked this. I said, is there anything in policy? And they said, well, we don't have anything in policy. So I said, you're allowing a Twitter campaign, somebody from Twitter, to contact you and badger you. And now you're going to shut down, you're going to interrupt treatment with all these men. I have multiple groups.
yeah, I know.
You're pulling the nuclear option, and nobody picked up the phone simply to ask me what this is about.
I
And the
know.
attorney's just staring at like, oh, we got an issue on our hands. I said, I just want you to know, right?
Well,
But
and
all
that's
that,
and
yeah, I'm
Melissa,
sorry, but all that to say, I willed. So that's what Alan he should have protected
he should have
Melissa.
protected her, and he didn't. He
Yeah,
didn't give a
yeah.
damn. And it
That's
makes me think, well, maybe his, going above and beyond to protect her to the point of making her use an alias. I'm
uh,
like, well, he's got enough knowledge to know that, well, down the road, what's going to happen to her? So did he really care about her, or did he just take her in and uh, uh, utilize her because she was starstruck? Do you know what I'm saying? Well, okay, I'm at this age, I need help, whatever, and this will
so
probably
why
one.
didn't she, after a while, say, "Listen, buddy, I love you, but
Exactly,
only
exactly. I
she
was the
didn't look
same
out for
way with,
herself."
I know. And so I'm like, I think that there must be a little bit of bitterness inside of her about that, which she never talks about. But I'm like, that's why I put that in the letter. So I agree with David. Alan was just as flawed. If even if John did do these things back when he had a psychotic wife, obviously it affects your ability to function, number one. I mean, she had after Alan died and she moved down here, there was a girl who had taken Alan's talks, just little 5 or 10 minute clips, and would put them on Bitchute. And she's got like a $40,000 subscribers. And so Melissa brought this woman to her. She literally drove. She's got no money, right? After she finally moves here, doesn't get settled, just moves into a room. Um, Decides to bring this woman from the East Coast, goes and picks her up, brings her to Texas, and they're gonna be a help to each other. Well, Melissa, over the course of a year, discovers she's psycho and she might even be possessed. But Melissa's trying to fix her and fix her and fix her. And this is her first crisis when, I didn't hear from her from a year. And so we finally start talking and become friends, and she's venting all this to me. And I'm like, get her out of your life. Why are you trying to fix her? You know? And so I want to bring, I don't know if I'll add this to the letter or not, but I said, imagine, and her name's, and so now I thought Melissa finally got her to move out and go back to her life and whatever. And they've had this battle online. And for 6 or 9 months, Melissa would just monitor her channel. I'm like, why do you care? If people are going to listen to her, obviously they don't have enough discernment to understand, and let them wallow in their bullshit all by themselves. Stop looking, right? She wouldn't stop. And finally, she just gave up. Not gave up, but stopped doing that. And she became calmer. And so I want to present this as an example to her. I said, well, imagine is still in your life. At the beginning, it was nice and great. You thought you had a partnership, but in time, things start spiraling out of control. I said, now imagine that you're married to that, number one, and that you have children with that, number two. You're trying to work and support them. And not only that, but you want to help people. So, yeah, Chris comes home and works. Chris probably invests 60, 70 hours a week working. So I understand that you're not fully involved in the homeschooling. Your wife is telling you that your children's a problem. So she's gaslighting you. And I said, now take that, you're married to that, and pull it out over 20 years' time. I said, you're talking about a time period in this man's life that was the absolute peak of the insanity. And he's trying to figure it out. I said, but you want to judge him because he didn't click on it right away. I said, well, my mom didn't click on the abuse either. I could show you 100 different survivors, spouses who didn't click on it. And on top of that, Jimmy Hinton's father's wife, Jimmy Hinton's mom, who she's using as an argument. Well, Jon approached her about this retreat and she said, run as far away from him because he's crazy. I said, I get it. She's an old lady. She's got her property. She doesn't want to get involved. I said, but she just spent the past 30 years with a man who's a multiple pedophile. So is she right in the head? No, but I'm
And Diana,
thinking,
by the way, each of these people I'm unmasking, she lied, ready? 100%, and I'm proving it. And
oh,
I take
good.
her to task. I absolutely take her to task. It's so hard.
I'm like, why is this woman who protected a
I've met her
pedophile for 30
twice.
years going to open a retreat center?
I've met her twice.
I
And
know.
as a matter of fact, tonight,
But that was
right?
one of Melissa's arguments. Jimmy Hinton's
Oh,
mom.
Diana, it's
I'm
so
like,
unbelievable.
I said, she's the wife of a pedophile for 30 years.
Right?
But because Melissa doesn't understand SRA and mind control, I'm like, you don't understand a thing, is what I wanted to say to her.
But Clara solicited me, and I've got
Really?
facts.
Oh,
I've got
good,
facts for all
good,
this
good. Yeah.
with all these
But
people.
see, that
That's why,
doesn't even matter to me
yeah,
because
but
I'm like,
it's just, it's
it's
what's,
the motives of this
yeah,
person and who they are. You're the
it's very
wife
sad.
of a pedophile. Oh, you went with your son to turn in your husband. Hmm. Why didn't you do that on your own?
There you go.
So she only did it to gain favor
She
with her
allowed,
son and
she
save
allowed,
herself from prosecution.
there, and I hadn't thought about that. She had 11 kids,
That,
4 daughters, 18 years of perpetration under her nose.
right. Like I thought my mom didn't know. Well, my mom did.
There,
She
there.
was mind controlled. She was this, she was that. But
But Clara wasn't. Clara wasn't.
my mom got a grip after a while,
Yeah.
but
But
this woman
what's
didn't.
what's Clara's excuse? No, it's sad.
Exactly. But see,
Oh gosh.
without the background I have with SRA,
Yeah.
I might be like Melissa. Do you know what I'm saying? I might think that. But I'm like, well, no, even a normal person would say, well, she's the wife of a pedophile. So that discredits her right off. You know,
I addressed that actually.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And the fact that she wouldn't even let me get
It's
into SRA and my experience and how that could apply to this situation, or, let's take your friend who's crazy, let's marry her, extrapolate that over 20 years. I said, you're going to be, you're not going to be at your best. You know what I'm saying? And then she brings up the whole forgery thing. And I'm thinking, you know what? The guy's fallible. He's in the midst of absolute chaos. I get it. And I said, but so the fact that, because the article said that you went to the court and threw yourself on the court and, and
And who
whatever.
was there, right? And who was there in that building?
I have no idea. I didn't even go
No,
that far. I was
nobody was in
like,
that building.
and
That's
I
what's
said,
funny
but
about it.
Melissa, I said, these very people that made the accusations and the prison were, he was exposing the abuse. He was a whistleblower. I said, so don't you think that it's possible that it could have been a setup, even if it actually happened or whatever? He was being targeted, but she wouldn't even let me get there. And I thought, you are one closed minded, opinionated, egotistical. And I wasn't, I was just, but my parts were just in an absolute panic. And so I'm glad I took the time to do it. And last night I listened to Jimmy Hinton's interview with the magazine. I can't even retain the name of the thing. I'm so pissed off about it.
The
But
distance.
the distance, yeah. um After I listened to it, I thought, he sounds like a reasonable man. So my parts started going into doubt again. And so, but three things came up. I said, okay, number one, he's connected to the LGBTQ magazine. That's the biggest flag. I said, number two, all these things with Jon happened 7 years ago. It says he, holding a grudge and hanging on to this for 7 years. What kind of a person is that? He should have gone on with his life, whatever. Let Jon live his life as a fraudster, whatever. I'm here. I'm doing good work. That's all that matters. But no, somehow he needs to get involved in this controversy. Why? And with these people in particular, why? And then there was one last flag, and it's kind of a small flag, but I was like, okay. In his interview, he talks about his mother, his wife, and then this colleague at this dinner. And each one of them said the same thing to her. You need to run from him as fast as you can. The exact same quote for all three of them. I said, how likely is it that three completely separate, distinct individuals are going to have the exact same phraseology?
You're pretty good. I hadn't thought about that.
I said, so he's rehearsed this, and that means he's got to be smooth. So if you're thinking that, well, yeah, he did sound reasonable, he did sound whatever, think about that. Because no three different individuals at three different points in time are going to use the exact same phrase. I said, so that was scripted or rehearsed or fed into him, but he was smooth about it. And I was like, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's how I ended up getting sucked in with them.
And
And yeah, I unmask them all just piece by piece, and that's just
I'm
in the first.
glad. And for
I
Melissa to
got
not even care about this,
yeah,
I
it's very
was
sad.
like, unbelievable. How stupid and gullible are you? And then I remembered something. She said when she would be with Alan, she would say or do something. And she said, Diana, he would just yell and scream at me about my ego. And that, blah, you need to get that in check and blah, 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 because she. And I thought, well, even Alan's response wasn't, oh, well, let me be gentle. Alan was very smart. He knew that you could not holler information at people. They're not going to get it. But for some reason, he did with her. And it must be because that was the only way to get through to her. And I thought, well, if that's the case, then she must have had a big fucking ego. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like every time a part comes up and says, well, wants to defend Melissa, not really defend her, but go, but what about this? Because they're scared. And I'm like, well, and then time will go by, and then another press will go, no, no. Do you remember when we were out there and she told you the story about Alan yelling at her because of her ego? Oh yeah, that's right. And so I'm just, I realized that, and I realized this 2 years ago, that I've hung around and stuck around, and because I have no friends. And I thought, well, at least I can have this little bit. I can have a back and forth conversation, and it's something. And with you, and I'm realizing I need to put this on my map. It dawned on me last night. You know how you make the pros and cons about the Satanists. You make the pros and cons about my dad. I thought, and then the pros and cons about power position. I thought we need to make pros and cons about what a real friend is. Is that a real friend's not going to
It's the
expect you to
opposite of
be,
the pig test.
no,
That's
real
right.
friend is not going to expect you to be their lackey. A real
That's
friend is not going to expect you to do a 30-second email because they're just so busy. I'm like, really? I'm like, Melissa, you're paying for this. He's going to get the final sign off from you. But you need me to send an email to your artwork people when you're the one corresponding with them. So yeah, I do that and then copy me on it. I'm like, why don't you just send them an email? It was less than 30 seconds. just so busy. I'm just so busy because Alan's work is just so important. And Alan just didn't have a minute to spare. And just so she's embodying Alan himself. And I'm like, you're too fucking full of yourself. And so that's what this whole weekend was the parts crashing and freaking out, and then me getting them back together. And then and in doing so, realizing she's not a true friend. I don't know that she's using me. I think she's utilized me in the same way that Alan utilized her. And a part of me felt sorry for her because of the position Alan put her in. And I don't know. It's just it was a lot. And I'm still thinking of different points of argument that I could have with her. But and I'm realizing, you know what, instead of sending that big old whole long thing, because she's not interested, she doesn't care, just say, look, I've come to a different decision. I'm going to follow my own personal experience. I don't want to be your lack. I'm going to go with the friendship pieces and completely eliminate out all of the points of argument with, well, no, I don't know. But the big point is going to be is look, we're supposed to be friends and you're not treating me as one. I'm not your lackey, and you want me to be your lackey, whether you recognize it or not. So I'm like, but I'm just like, wow, wow. Because I know when Chris and I were first together, the first 6 years, and he was spun out of control. I wasn't my best. I didn't think clearly. It happens to all of us. And I'm like, for you to expect perfection out of anyone is an unreasonable expectation. Completely unreasonable. Yeah, he was a marriage and family. I don't think you were a marriage and family counselor during that time.
That's my no.
You were doing the prison stuff. So
Came out headed up.
why they expect you to have that knowledge at that point in time about
Well,
your
no, that was my degree, but it's like you can have the
but
knowledge,
if
but
you're in the middle
coming
of a
home, stepping through the door is a whole different ballgame.
I know. And you first you got to deal with she's creating a tornado
Yeah,
out, which is a completely all-encompassing thing. And so how are you supposed to know what your kids are going through? Because 99.5% of your shit is involved with her. I'm like, you must have had a very pampered, sheltered life. But I'm like, and I think that, I don't even know if I believe that your sons were sexually assaulted by her.
weren't. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting on two videos. I haven't been able to
And I
publish them.
told her that. I said,
Wait till people hear what he says.
John's son has a presentation
I've got
refuting
him
all of this.
right.
And not only that, but your other son, I didn't know he had ADD or ADHD. She doesn't mention it till like the very end. It's, well, he didn't recognize that for 20 years until something
We dealt with
happened.
it all. We dealt with it all the time.
And then in her next interview, John,
Oh,
she brings it up and says, yeah, he was diagnosed when he was a very,
see,
very young.
I only listened to
I was
40
like, so
minutes.
you're just a liar in every regard.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, you have your mother's genetics then.
Well, I wish that was the case. Her spirit.
I know. I was just like, but the fact that Melissa won't put any value whatsoever on my experience.
That's right.
And so, and after I listened to Hinton last night, I forgot to do this. I was trying to find something to watch. I put on Gray for about 10 minutes, but I couldn't get past the mask because he had on the one with the scars and I was
No.
and but my mind wasn't into it either. And then I put on Nathan Reynolds for about 10 minutes. And I thought my parts are like, you know what? Put on one of John's sessions. So I pulled my laptop over and I watched it. And so they're all scrutinizing you and going, well, he's perfectly calm. He's affable. I we all know what the qualities of a psychopath are, and none of it is exhibited here. None of it. And so, which a whole 3 hour session, it was one of our 2.5 hour one, I think. And we got done with it and he went, you know what? The man is not psychopathic. He's not narcissistic. Melissa is just completely misled and beguiled. And there's no reason that she should be, because if she knew Alan well enough, she would be able to see through this, and she doesn't. And it reminded me of something that you said to me, because of doing the transcripts, listening and speaking and typing, and that I was immersed in it, the data, the information. And I thought, well, Melissa was too. And I thought, no, she wasn't. She was immersed in loving a man, and that's what he did. So I don't know that she absorbed everything the way that I did. And it's the first time I realized I think I know Alan better than her in
I think
terms of his data. She knows him as the man, the flawed man who, so it was it's just a roller coaster. And I thought, I resent you for putting me through this. I'm pissed off that I've just been your lackey, and such disrespect. And Jon, you have no idea how much money, $100 a month for the past 4 years. I sent her $2,000 to help her move from Canada to Texas. And then when I went out there last year, I took her $2,000 cash because she had a crunch with her, house taxes, property taxes. That was, and on top of that, I bought her $500 worth of meat to fill her freezer. And I just felt like I have the means. It's not going to hurt or pinch us. Chris is aware of it now. Um, and I want to help you. I want you on your feet. The whole point here is for Alan to continue on. And if you can't, then that can't. It was my same logic and reasoning with Angie and Mom. I'm willing to support you, Angie, and help you, Angie, and make you prosper, because in doing so, it will help Mom. Because I couldn't do the same thing for Mom. Mom doesn't work, but if I can bolster you up, then you can take care of Mom, was my motivation. And it was the same with Melissa. Let me boost you. And I thought that she had immersed just like I did, but I realized no. As Alan was doing one of his talks, she's sitting there jotting down like I did with these interviews. She didn't put down timestamps, but she jotted down the topics. So she was preoccupied with her task. And oh, shit, is my bread in the oven ready? And oh yeah, I've got to go, we got to stack so she's immersed in her life with him, not learning from him. And I thought that's why he probably would yell at her, because he never went there ever on a talk. And I don't think it's because he was holding back or being calculating. I think it was because that's just who he was, the way he was. But with her, he felt a need to yell, because you had to
and in
get
that instance,
through.
I never yelled at my wife.
Mm,
So the question is, Melissa, what were you doing to bring a man like that to a point where he's yelling at you?
exactly. And I thought, because I reacted the same way. Once I figured it out, I lost it. And I'm dictating this at midnight. I think I started at 11 and I finished at 3. I reread that thing 20 times, Jon, thinking, come on, it's almost 4 o'clock. I'm like, I think this is enough, guys. No, no, I want to read one more time. They were just furious that we were treated with such disrespect.
Yeah.
Furious, because she was one of the few people in my, if you want to call it, inner circle. And like I said, for the past months, I've realized, yeah, but this was just it. I was like, wow, what an ego. You think you know it all. And you spend 4 hours maybe, listen to an interview of 2 hours of his daughter and you can't find the inconsistencies. And here was another thing I kept track of is her duping delight. Did you notice that she would tell you know what duping delight is?
It's very hard if you can. I think she's done 6 hours, and it's really. I listened to about 45 minutes. The thing that's the most painful, she uses my first name.
That was the very first thing I wrote
And
down on
I'm
my notes.
telling
You're
you,
not dad, you're John. It's
it
not
is
mom, it's
so
Trish.
hard. It is so hard for me to listen to this.
I
Uh,
know. And here was another thing she said in, I
it's
think, the second,
unbelievable.
you probably didn't listen to the thing she said in the second interview
She
was
just, again, I just, yeah, keep going. I'm going to have to, right?
she used, um, what was it? You were telling me before when you were telling me about the move and whatever, but there was a text that you sent to her that said, I don't recognize this person or something along
Oh,
those
yeah, I don't
lines.
recognize her at all.
She used that very same quote at the almost near the end of her second, at the like the fourth hour. Say, I don't recognize who he is at all. And I thought, are you kidding me? You're using your father's own quote against him. And she uses something else to, he can turn it off and he can turn it on. I thought, so you're using, you know, your father's work well enough to
Wow.
know to use it against him. I thought that, and I said this to Melissa. I said, Melissa, even when I remembered the sexual abuse and I was in my 30s, the first thing I did was I moved home to try to repair my relationship with him. I said, why wasn't that Nicole's first motive? It's not. It was to go to an LGBTQ magazine. I said, because nowhere else on the internet is any of this information. Nowhere. Only on The Distance magazine, Jimmy Hinton and Barbara Roberts. And they all circle jerk with each other, leading from one link back to the other. Here's another part. I don't know if you know this about Barbara Roberts, but
So I don't really know her.
well, here's the thing.
That's what's so bizarre about this woman.
It was after all these hours on the internet, and so finally I'm in my room and going over this thing 20 times. I got to thinking, I thought, I want to check something else out, but I couldn't remember her name at the time. But I remembered A Cry for Justice. So I thought, oh, okay, let me type that in.
So I didn't
Well,
remember.
I thought I'm going to look at every single link. And the third one links you to a page saying, hi, what's his name? Mark Crippen, saying, I created this website 7 years ago, and this was my motivation. And I have since distanced myself from it. I resigned, and this was 7 years ago that he left. And he didn't say why, he didn't badmouth her. He said, if you want to find my information, here's my new website. And you get a link and you go there. This is a couple paragraphs. And so I went there and I'm
Well,
checking
wait,
it out.
because Diana, as you're describing this, again, it's been 8 years,
Mhm.
Jim. So now I'm putting two and two together. When Barbara, because Jimmy and I were going to interview, it was Jimmy's connection. He says, "Hey, we got this woman
You're
by the name
so
of Barbara
right.
Roberts." So I said, "Well, okay, that's nice. We'll interview her." And then she wanted to talk with me. And I'm kind of sharing a little bit about myself. Well, she was fascinated. She wanted all my charts and things. She said, so conversation number two is when all of a sudden she referenced her partner is leaving. Talk about a setup now that I just figured this out,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And she says, and that's when she floats the idea that maybe survivor support could sponsor her so she could come to the US because she has work to do in Washington State.
And she
And I'm
needs a way to
thinking,
make money.
oh yeah, and do tours. And
She
it's like,
wants your
whoa,
clientele.
it's a little sudden, lady. So, oh yeah, my organization, me, I forget you have to have an organization has to prove you can't find, meaning that person is so essential that you're going to sponsor them. So she was approaching me to be the sponsor for her to come over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what
And
did you say no, or what
referenced
happened?
she needed a sponsor. Look at now that I'm putting two and two together because this relationship was ending. He was too busy. So keep talking now because this is helpful for me because
Well, let me get,
I haven't put all the pieces together with her and my little sports
well,
announcer guy.
I'll help you with that.
As a matter of fact, I can show you what I did last night. It's taking about 8 hours per 12 to 17 minutes of film time for me. So I can also show you what I did to Mike fatally last night.
Well, you know what I feel like doing is taking my notes from Nicole's interviews with the
That would be very
timestamps
helpful.
and saying, okay, you want to hear about how many times she bashes the Bible and Christianity with LGBTQ people who love it?
There we go. There we go.
Here they are, and here's the timestamps. How many times she says that her father hates women? Here's the timestamps because she's pandering to an audience.
That's what she's doing.
Because,
It's sick.
he hates women. What? And so she's intentionally whipping these people up and trying to get their sympathy. I'm like, you are not genuine at all. But
Yeah.
here's what I put in: a cry for justice. Are you seeing this?
I am. I
Yeah,
am.
okay. So, a crying out for justice blog. This is her, right? Um, or maybe this is the one. It was like the third or fourth listing. Yeah, no, it's her. But here's interesting. If you go to her homepage, right? It says A Cry for Justice, which is the name of a book. Oh no, wait, where is
Oh, and the
it?
one thing she told me, her parents were wealthy and willed an exorbitant amount of money to her, so she doesn't have to work.
Yeah, yeah.
So she will.
She just needed a sponsor that anyway. I don't know what page it's on of hers, but it'll show the book, and then there'll be a space with some sort of symbology. And then underneath it says author Barbara Roberts. So you get the impression that, oh, she wrote that book. No, her
Oh,
partner did. Her ex-partner did.
how did you find that out?
Accidentally. It was like God just said, here, check this
Oh,
out. Or
are you,
was it a call? Or what is it? Here, I'll just type
oh,
his name.
she plagiarized the book?
Not really. If you look at it, you can see how she protected herself. She put a big space and underneath it says author Barbara Roberts. But there's a book above it, so you assume she's the author of that book. Well, she's not.
Oh, was her name on the book?
No, no. And here his name is, I'll show you. Let's see, Jeff Crippen. And I just thought, wow, she's purposely deceiving. Anyway, I'm glad I printed it. Maybe here, I'll just type in information about ACFJ, which is A Cry for Justice. Here it is, I think. Important information. If you are directed here, it's no longer here. I am no longer affiliated in any manner with that blog, having resigned. I welcome you to visit my new site, right? And so I'm thinking, well, I am the author of the book A Cry for Justice, as well as the original owner and founder of A Cry for Justice.
Did you send me this link?
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
okay.
So anyway, I found another link which I took a screenshot of. Well, let me see if I can find it again. Where he, I wish, because my phone
And
when I
why would you, if you were partners with somebody, why would you be so eager to say, I'm no longer, that's talk about trying to create distance between yourself and with myself. I've never
exactly.
referenced Jimmy Hinton.
What do you know what she does, right? She apparently had an abusive husband, wanted to divorce him, went to the church, and the church says, no, the Bible says you can't leave your husband ever, even if they're abusive. Well, down the road, she discovered that, oh, well, that's wrong. That or not that that's wrong, but yes, that this exists in the Bible and you don't have to listen to it. This is how she makes her money, is going around talking to abuse victims saying, well, if your church told you you can't leave because the Bible says, then they're wrong. So she's discrediting the Bible as a profession, number one. Number two, so she did an interview with someone on YouTube. I didn't watch it, but Jeff Crippen, I wish I could get there again. But Jeff Crippen, let me see, YouTube. See, my phone will give me different search results than this computer. Anyway, I clicked on it, and it's this little post that she put up saying, here, check me out on this interview, and blah, blah, blah. And there's just this little comment that Jeff Crippen put under there. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, damn. I think did I make a folder just for this? Gardening journalism. Oh, I better not have lost it. Anyway, he made a comment on there and said, well, Barbara, you've just proved yourself wrong. The Bible
I'd love
doesn't,
that quote if you can find that.
the Bible doesn't say that, does it? You've just proved yourself wrong. It was such a beautiful comment when I found it. I was like, but yeah, I'll definitely look for it
If you
again.
find that and screenshot that, send that to me. That'd be
I
beautiful.
have the screenshot. Actually, I ought to be able to find it right here. Oops.
Wow.
I was like, oh, really?
Wow.
Screen.
Now, no wonder he distanced himself from her.
What is
That's-
happening here? Oh, I'd just be able to SCRE. There, okay. Oh, yeah. But I was like, oh my God,
And
are
the
you
fact that
kidding
you've
me?
even right that we haven't even talked about this.
I know. And I was like, oh, come on. Really? It's like they took it off my computer, John. Unbelievable. I made a file. Oh, Twitter response about John. No, that was, and I agree with you. The girl that came out and made an accusation against that MacArthur University, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I thought, why aren't you naming a name?
She's an adult. She's stepping forward, and
I'm like, why go through all of this press coverage to say I was wronged by someone over there, but you're not going to name a name? Really?
it just in that particular. It's like in the Old Testament, Joseph.
You're supposed to
He
be
was
able to face
falsely
your accuser.
he was falsely accused,
So was
and
Chris's
so
brother and put in jail for it.
yeah, and so where is it that suddenly
Mhm.
anybody is given carte blanche because of their sex or gender to make an accusation, and when it's against someone,
And if you're going public, all you're
there you
saying is,
go.
feel sorry for me. I'm a victim. Well,
And
from
Susan was the
who?
one.
From where? From what?
That's what this was all about, Diane. It was surreal to watch this thing unfold.
And oh, well,
And
let's feel sorry for her. And John's bullying her. I'm
over this
like,
thing, I got
well,
pulled into this stupid discussion, and they're she hates John MacArthur. And I'm thinking, I've listened to this guy for 40 and 50 years. He's been a primary source of education for me. I'm open to it. Just don't sit there willy-nilly trash a guy that has had 50
ruin
years
his
of
life. Like,
stellar track record.
right, like
Because,
Chris's brother. His
right?
stepdaughter accused him.
Yeah.
He wound up in jail for 3 years, or prison for 3 years for a false accusation. And here's the thing, because she was in the military in Italy,
Oh,
the judge just let her phone in.
wow.
She wasn't even present at the trial. Chris and I were there for every single court date. She was never made to come here. Kevin never got to face his accuser. And all the people never got to see her in court, to see her
No.
body language or her demeanor.
Unbelievable.
None of it. And Kevin,
Unbelievable.
finally, Chris and I paid for his legal fees. It was $13,000, John, 13, for a lawyer to get these 4 counts of sexual assault knocked down to 1 count of fondling. And because of that, now he has to register as a sex offender.
See there?
His whole life has been ruined.
That's exactly right.
And I'm like, if he was what she claims, pedophile, I know pedophiles don't stop, and it would be continuing right now, and it's not. Kevin doesn't do that. What he's doing is drinking himself into a stupor because his life is fucked up.
And he represents a number of the guys that I have in my groups.
He never got to face his accuser. A man phoned it in. She phoned it in. And the judge was, oh my God, I could go on and on about the judge.
Okay, so Diana, that's how this whole thing started. Jimmy was looking for what, because I had to confront him. He was plagiarizing my material, and I confronted him.
Oh, and he mentions that Judd said we were sharing our.
Oh yeah, well, you wait till I show the emails. I got emails, and I took them to task, and it's very
Thank God
fun.
you're anal like me.
Oh, I'm telling you. So, but anyways, before I know, so he used that exchange, and it came out within 4 hours. He was 5 hours. So he says, I took a few days. No, I've got all the emails. But it was Susan, so I'm ticked that this woman is going public, bashing this pastor who has 50 years of stellar track record. He may have had a misjudgment on one day of
John,
50.
they're a cult.
Okay. So I said, slow down. I said, before we hang somebody in the public forum,
Let's get some proof.
Ask some questions. You don't believe survivors. I said, what are you talking about? And then, Susan came in and she says, what's going on? Because I'm going, what is, and they descended all these comments. And Jimmy's in the background watching this. Now that I find out.
On his interview, he was just taken by surprise. He was.
Oh, yeah. So
John created this.
How do I extricate myself from this stupid conversation? Then Barbara Roberts shows up in this thing. But I said, they're trashing MacArthur. And I said, I'm not going to just sit there idly by and watch this happen.
Well, and that was, I knew that about you because you're going to fight. You're a fighter and you'll get right in.
But here's what Susan did. She says, well, what is this? I said, well, apparently this one. So Susan starts looking her up and I hear and she kind of rounds the corner. She says, this woman's lying. I said, what? She says, she claimed to have a concussion. Who lives with a concussion? So I said, what? She says, let me tell you what she says. And she stayed home after getting a concussion. She went dancing that night.
Oh, well, there you go.
No one with a concussion
is going dancing.
And she says, she's lying.
These people give themselves away all the time.
It's a game over. Right? I live with, it's been how many years? 8 years of helping Susan with a TBI.
I know. That's what I thought.
Susan's the one that found it. She says, this woman, she says, let me tell you, the last thing I would do when I got hit is want to go and have strobe lights and dance around and have loud music. Exactly. She said, this woman is lying through her teeth. And that's when I became more insistent. I said, oh, okay, well, the woman needs to unmask herself, stand up, and be an adult. How dare you? Uhler's a fraud. And it's like, oh, yeah.
I'm just
Hinton
like,
found his way out. Hinton found his way out because I said, Jimmy, no more using my stuff. Well, you told me, I said, on occasion, you're making money. I've never, in 2 years, Jimmy.
He didn't say, this is my partner made this. My partner created this. He didn't say that. He said, well, no, I didn't mention John.
Zero.
But
as a matter of fact, his presentation. Well, that's what I went into the Google Drive because I allowed him. He was making money off the whole thing, and I don't care. But I thought, okay, Jimmy. All of a sudden, it's like, who are you? What are your line? All of a sudden, attacking me on social media. I could just see him. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, who is this guy? So that, Jimmy, I'm going to find out. What have you? Well, we have a shared Google Drive. I never went into the darn thing. He was dumb enough, but he knew that's how detached I was.
Well, because all that shit you're going on with your wife, I get it.
Well, but that was after, but still, now that's how much implicit trust I had in the guy.
I know.
So now I bring up, and he has presentations. Well, I'm thinking, Jimmy, I've never had one presentation other than the first one where I suggested if we're going to start making money, we probably need to be an organization so we can file taxes.
Oh,
Um,
of which you bullied and
oh, this
you
guy,
were
he
you
destroyed the 501c3. Church Protect lost the 501c3 because of him. But so I've had no speaking engagements in 2 years. And so I click on it. He has presentations. I open it. There's 9 files.
yeah, you
It's like,
told me. Yeah. Yeah.
right. So I click on the last one, and it was comprised 100% of my 100%. He
Uh,
had none of his 100%. I thought, oh, okay. You're going
it'd be
around.
different if it was 5%. And he said my
Oh,
person is
100%.
yeah.
Susan was so nonplussed.
So
And that's when we confronted him. And that's when he said, oh, yeah, mistake. And it's like, oh, gosh. And then that's when suddenly he issues, he has nothing to, he has concerns about Jon Uhler. Do you, Jimmy? So for
and
eight
hanging
years, I've
on to
sat
him
on
for
it.
8 years.
And for
Hanging
eight
on
years,
to
I've
him for
sat on
eight
this
years.
information.
Well, thank God you kept them.
Well, it's coming out
That,
now. And then
that's
Susan,
my fault, is I tend to delete shit after a year or
yeah,
two.
well, I kept it all. And so the day finally Jimmy says, okay, yeah, meaning you're darn right, you're going to hand the website over. Then behind the scenes, because his brother built it, I don't know, Bluehost, he worked it with his brother who is IT. His brother does IT. They were rerouting. It was all set up to reroute any traffic or inquiries to jimmyhinton.org. Because, and I wasn't even thinking about that. Susan is much like you, an investigator. So Jimmy's handed it over, and meanwhile, in the other room, Susan is testing it out. So she went to churchprotect.org, puts in her information. And I hear her say, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "What?" She says, "I'm taking a film of this." And I said, "What?" She says, "That slime, he's rerouting all traffic to Jimmy." I said, "Really?" So I emailed Jimmy. Jimmy, it must be a mistake. But please go ahead and clear that up so that inquiries and
Oh, see
contacts are
his
not
interview?
rerouted, right? So,
He slickly reversed all of that. Oh,
yeah.
John was crazy and
Oh, yeah. No. So that's why. So Susan has yet. She and I are going to do an entire interview
oh,
about
good.
Nicole and Jimmy. Oh, she talk about misogynistic. I had
You know what?
forgotten.
I think what I'm going to do is make a little document for you with the timestamps with Nicole.
Okay,
Okay,
that
here's
would.
bashing the Bible and Christianity. Here's the text. Oh, he's a woman hater. Okay. Well, how look at all these women he works with currently. I don't think he hates me. I'm like,
Pathetic.
all my little points. And you could say, look, here. If you listen to her interview, please make note because here's the timestamps.
Well,
But
Diana, would it be helpful for you and the parts to hear what I do with Mike Fadley? I wasn't going to touch Mike Fadley, but
I
behind
don't
the
even know who
scenes,
that is.
he's the pastor of Nevin. So Nevin's an elder.
I
After
remember that name.
Nevin, I see. It's like what? Um, I reached out to Mike. Okay, Mike and I. That's how I met Jimmy Hinton. So Mike had requested, and
That's
for
right.
years,
Yeah.
right? Jimmy Hinton says that he says I sought Jimmy Hinton out. You got to be crapping me. So, um,
He
but
is
once I
really
saw,
smooth in his interview. He's
yeah,
really smooth,
yeah.
very
Well, unfortunately
believable.
for him, I've got all these emails that
Good,
I'll.
good.
Susan's
Yeah.
going to speak up because she used to hear him on speakerphone. So talk about misogynistic. I'd forgotten what he said to her. All of a sudden, she was going to vacate so he and I could do a podcast together, and I'd forgotten this. And she started to ask him a question, and apparently Jimmy says, and I do remember this. He says, "Don't you have a dog to go watch?" To her, to my wife.
What? And she's got it on film?
No, but she's going to report that. I remember but I wasn't paying attention because I'm trying to prepare notes, and
Yeah,
he's kibitzing. He says, "Don't you have a dog?" Like patting her, very patronizing. She was fuming,
I
so she didn't
bet.
hear that. Talk about
Well, and that's
misogynistic.
what Melissa was doing to me, pat me, and I know
Yeah.
best. And I'm thinking, no, you don't.
But Mike Fadley not only was contact with for Jimmy Hinton, but He was one, quite frankly, now that I know it, to destroy the marriage. I'm thankful that he did, but he canceled. But he was doing it for his own purposes. Now that I see it, he had been interacting with my wife behind the scenes for 9 months without me knowing, and he only contacts me because she was her ego and demonic stuff. All of a sudden, for 9 months, I've got this pastor interacting with my wife. He never bothered to tell me.
Yeah.
I only found out because all of a sudden I get this email saying, John, we need to talk. And it's like, because I would take time out of my schedule on Tuesdays to meet with Mike to be a soundboard for counseling questions. So on a weekly basis, Mike and I met for 3 years. This
Oh, wow.
pastor, he
For
wanted me to be an
Trish.
elder
Oh,
for
he
this
wanted
church
you to be
that
an
Nevin's a part of. And so for 3 years, and so once I saw Nevin running, it's like, whoa, I contacted Mike. I reached out to him via email, and there's no response. So I gave him a second one using a second email, no response. Well, I went to the church website and I forwarded to him saying, hey, can we talk? And and the body of the message was, don't know if you're aware that Nevin apparently gave an interview to an LGBTQ and slimed and slandered me all over the place. So I would like it if you wouldn't mind facilitating a Zoom call so that the three of us could talk. Since he's an elder in your church, and Mike, you and I, we all know each other. My kids used to play with and Nevin's kids for years.
Uh-huh.
And so, Mike, would you facilitate a Zoom call so we could have a conversation about this? Mike's response, 2 sentences. I don't know anything about it and I don't want to get involved. Please don't contact me again. And it's like, okay, Fadley, really?
That's just,
So let me show you. Are you
is
okay
this
if I show?
recently or was this back then?
No, this was just after I heard that Nevin was interviewed. So this was about a month ago.
Oh yeah, I'd love it. Yeah. I've already figured out with Melissa. I'm done.
But it's
She had
sad that I'm
great.
having to take this amount. For instance, that one little clip we just listened to, that
No,
was
it's
about,
okay. My parts needed it. I
yeah,
mean, they're
that was
okay with,
about
yeah,
14, that was 2 nights, that was 14 hours.
I believe it. You did a good
That
job. It's
was
brilliant.
that. Was,
Yeah. Trying to think.
look, this has kept me from being able to continue right now with Emma. Yesterday I'm having to defend myself to not have my certification yanked. You know,
I know. You know,
this,
that's two things you just brought to mind. After you did your interview with Melissa, she called me up so excited and so pumped up because the part that you got to about the reprobate mind, like an alchemist, how it changes and it turns a person and you can't turn it back. She had this huge realization and she was just so blown away by it. And I was like, yeah, right on. Cool. I was excited to see her go forward. But then she gets these pissy comments, and then the people call her, and all this stuff happens. And I thought, you are ignoring your own personal experience with what John did for you personally. You're just completely discarding that. And that's the one thing that Alan always touted was that always go by your own experience. Always. He said, no matter what's going on, you
that's
trust your own experience. And she's completely ignoring that completely. Now I've lost track of what the second thing was.
look how disruptive this whole thing has been.
I know.
That's so effective.
Geez, I
But
wish I could get that back.
it's just, and I will continue to make the point in these different that if people can't tell, this is all about getting John off his message,
The LBGTQ, it's all
right?
stemming from there.
And I highlight and I go through it, what the,
And
um,
why are these preachers interacting with LGBTQ stuff anyway? So Melissa knows all this.
yeah, so but it'll give you
Yeah.
the reason why it's 4 hours long thus far.
Yeah, no, I
But
think it's great. Yeah.
in the sound. And it's
I'm
sad
just
that
like, of
people have
all
fed right
people.
into, yeah, it's all about, right. So yeah, shame on Melissa for not being able to figure it out. But on the other hand, I don't blame it because who would guess? And that's why when I look at my daughter, I truly believe, uh,
Something, or she's embodied one of her parts that's loyal to her mom's cult member, whatever. But
yeah,
yeah,
that I almost had these little perps against the ropes, and then all of a sudden Nicole appeared. So it's a gold mine to them.
yeah, for sure.
So that's
I
why,
mean,
if it
it
wasn't
worked
my,
on Melissa, the one person it should not have. I can't believe she can't see past the LGBTQ piece of it. Go, oh yeah, it's real. And I'm like, no, it's all focused on from this one core. What's the core of it? And she just, no, can't be bothered. I'm like, fine, F you. I'm done.
oh, damn, after all you put in. Well, I'm sorry for even having to take the time and review
No,
this.
no, it's totally fine.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully that some of that settled on the end, on the inside. And again, I've got emails. I've got I'm unmasking every single one. Anybody that stepped up.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to because and show the connections between all of them. It's just amazing. Yeah. This Melissa told me that when Barbara or what's her face that Barbara Roberts said, "Oh, well, tell your friend that she should look into this Wilfred Wong and Svali." And I go, "Well, I know Svali. I've watched many of her interviews. She's a survivor." Well, Barbara thought that you should, like go to them for counseling. And I'm like, well, they're not counselors. Like, what does this woman doesn't even know the world of SRA? That's why I put it in the response. I'm like, it's superficial crap. I've already gone past that. I just want to smack her. I think there's still parts in me that want to have her want a friend.
No, that's
And
right.
by me cutting her off, we're gonna be like, well, we're not gonna have anybody to talk to anymore. And I'm saying, well, you know what? You're about to meet and probably, and I think that they're going to be better friends than Melissa ever was. So will they have the Alan Watt knowledge? No. But do you need that? We've already got it inside of us. Do we need to get it from her? No. So that's my thing right now is the sadness at the loss of what I thought was going to be a really promising friendship. But for months, we have known that's not going to happen. The parts have known that. And I think it's just the sadness of they think they're never going to have any friends and whatever. And I'm like, well, just give it some time because you're about to be interviewed by Emma. You're about to meet. We're going to be okay. So that's, I think, they're, they know that you're a good guy. They know that. I mean, it was shook up Friday, but by now they're fine. It's now about, do we really want to cut her off? Do we? And I'm like, yeah, I do, because I'm not going to be someone's lackey and I'm not going to be disrespected. If you can't treat me as an equal. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Melissa brought up in her conversation that she says, well, the things that you and John talk about, it's inappropriate. You shouldn't be talking about whatever. And I thought, my first thought was, well, I like that we can talk about things outside of our therapy because I feel like you're my friend as well as a counselor because you're willing to interact with us at that level. And I thought, well, okay, who says that it's inappropriate? Well, it's the industry of psychiatry. And how successful are they anyway at helping people? oh, here's a doctor, here's a patient, and I'm the expert and you're not. And so I have to
Sure.
be separate and apart. And it's inappropriate for me to bring my personal life into this, which you don't really, most, most of it's me, but I thought, are we really going to trust the rules built on an industry that we know is a fraud? And that industry itself doesn't even teach its own counselors like Jon about, they don't teach them about all of this SRA stuff, what you and I've talked about. So I want to bring that up with Melissa is why are you adhering to the principles of an industry that Alan himself will tell you is full of shit? And I learned that before I even met Alan, through Scientology, because Scientology is all about exposing the fraudulent behaviors of psychiatry. So I'm like, well, they're not successful at helping people. They're successful at keeping people fucked up so that they can have therapy for 30 years, but they're not successful. Like you say, you want to work yourself out of a job. Psychiatry's goal is not that. So I think that the personal exchange makes this more valuable. Like, I'm glad I can ask you about the Bible. I'm glad I can ask you, know that no, you're not perfect either, but you do have an expert knowledge of this particular thing, which is what I need help with. So I'm like, Melissa, you're wrong on that point. Why would you subscribe to that? It's inappropriate. She must have said it like 4 times. I'm like, and I didn't really respond. I was just like, the parts were in such a panic, and this big ball of anxiety in my stomach, and then the anxiety moved into rage the next after I had done a bunch of research. And then the rage finally settled down, and I'm like, no, she's wrong. I don't care whose wife she is. She's wrong. And we know what we know. Alan said, use your own personal experience. And the thing about the website, if you're looking into something, they link you to a page that links you right back. It's a scam. And for Melissa to not see that is mind blowing to me. And that's when I really twigged on the fact that I was immersed in it. She was not.
That's right.
She thinks she was, but
And
she's,
just because you live with the person,
yeah. I'm like, you're
you-
not spending 8 hours a day for 17 years just listening to the information, not thinking about, I've got to, sew up the hole in his socks. I've got to, I'm not distracted. I was just listening. And I now know that she wasn't, even though she can pull out of her hat 1,000 different quotes of Alan's. She doesn't live them. She doesn't practice them. And in our interview, she talked about, well, she wants to go beyond, like Alan said, he'll take you so far, but you need to go to the next level. I did.
she's revealed whether or not she's able to take it to the next level.
I know. Well, but in our interview, she said afterwards, she says, and that's where I want to go with all this. I want to go into the supernatural, the preternatural. I want to go beyond whatever. And I'm thinking, well,
She
that
sure
was
failed.
February. It's now, it's been 7 months and you haven't. And when you touched on it with Jon a little bit,
No.
and you guys didn't even talk about supernatural, preternatural, but it was the first step to, okay, pedophiles, this like psychopathy, possession, the whole thing. She was scared off. She told me, she said, I'll be on, and this was at the very, I'll be honest with you, I'm scared of him. And I said, scared of him? For what do you mean? In what way? Well, I'm just afraid that he's going to attack me because he attacks everyone. And I went, oh, okay. But well, you're scared of him. You're is what I thought. I thought Alan would not be impressed at all. And I think Chris is right. She's threatened because her people might just come over to my channel, because if they were at the level that I would, because all they did was listen as well, listen and read his material. So they were steeped in it as well. Not all of them, but a few. But I'm sure they're ready to go to the next level, and she's not taking them there, but I will. She said that her best running videos are my signs and symbols, because that's what I show them. The signs and symbols. It's like, it's a starting point.
Yeah, you can't take anybody further than you've gone. And it is very sad. I mean, the crux of it is, and you nailed it.
Well, and her whole life is built on it. If she can't expand and grow, she will never. The one thing she needs to do, apparently she told me in conf, she said, but because it's tied up in this legal thing, no one can touch it. And she said, well, if she were to just close down the websites, that they would agree to give her for the rest of her life, but it wouldn't be the whole ball of wax. She says, well, I want the intellectual property, which I understand. But I said, Melissa, you don't need the websites. We've got all of the discs, all the videos, you have everything on hard drives. Create something new. I said, give them what they want, you'll get a month. She doesn't want to do that. I think it's because she wants, now that I think about it. But I'm like, oh, I think this was the big thing, is that she'll lose the book. Alan wrote a book. And if she loses that, that's like her big, not a big money, but that's probably more than 50% of the income she brings in is the sales of the books. But she would lose that. I'm like, but you'd have.
And what a mess she allowed to be created for herself.
And Alan too. If he truly cared
to live
about
with the guy for not touching that issue. But as you indicated, it's one thing to know this stuff. It's another thing, whatever's going on in your own home. But what was a woman her age doing living with a guy? And this hard to figure out, that if he died without marrying her, that she was going to be in a real.
I know. And here's the irony. The province that they lived in Canada does not have common law.
There.
So she's just screwed.
It's very sad.
And it's unfortunate that his sisters are like, because apparently his father was really bad, demonic, whatever. And his sisters are just like that. And, I'm like, and for years I keep thinking she's always got a catastrophe going on, always. And I'm like, I don't experience that. What are you doing what's happening in your internal world that you're drawing all this chaos to you? I'm like, you're not this great Christian that you think that you are. Well, I talked to God and God guided me, and I sat on this for 6 weeks, Diana. Those calls were on October 1st or August 1st. And I looked up the timeline with the articles. This is just 2 weeks after all that, after Nicole. And I'm like, well, you can't see that connection.
And
unbelievable.
Where I go is with this, and this is just a bottom line principle, but especially all the more for someone that claims to be a Christian, is this: have you gone to the person? That's Christianity 101.
That's what I did with my dad. I went to him first, and then he pulled out all this matchbook crap. I'm like,
but if you have a question, hey, I've heard something. Did you go to that person? Okay, the one thing is in common with all these people,
not doing that.
No one's ever called me. It's like, okay, so, and unfortunately,
you have a client coming up, or
yeah,
you do. Okay, yeah, no, the parts are fine. I did have some more memories, I think, because so much emotion got shook up. But
okay, then I'm glad
we can catch up with it next time. Yeah,
but that's what's so diabolical about, on top of it, that's part of this fallout.
She wanted me to distrust you, and I thought, there's no way I can
But
continue with
but
my therapy
that's what these
without
perps,
discussing this.
right?
That's exactly what they want.
That's what they wanted. And so she's, but because, and it really comes down to, in my estimation, comes down to my daughter. It's just surreal. She hand fed them. And if I
Well, and
was
I'm
somebody,
curious, did the magazine go to the people or did the people go to the magazine?
I think Nicole went to them.
And so
So,
they took her information and reached out to the
and
others.
I think she emptied out her Rolodex
I
and
think
gave
so
it to her.
too. Because I thought, how would these Barbara and Jimmy or
Right.
even Nevin
That's what
even
my
be
own daughter did.
aware of that article?
Susan has put all the timeline together about
Oh,
Nicole.
fantastic. Good.
And so I'm working feverishly to try to get the one that you saw out. And then probably the next week. So I'll just time it, but I think we're going to sit down and do the interview. And during that interview, we're going to cover Nicole, we're going to cover Jimmy Hinton.
Oh, good. Good.
And
Perfect.
the next one is I'm going to present
I'll
on the,
say Jimmy Hinton was believable in his interview,
oh yeah, but
except for
Susan
those
will,
three
oh yeah,
things that I caught. And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know that the average person will ever think of the things that I did. And the only reason I thought of them is because Alan taught them to me.
Yeah. So the third one will actually be that extended one with my son, and in it will be the Jimmy Hinton emails. So that one,
The business stuff. Yeah. And
correct.
the fact that he's going to
That's
hang
right.
on to this for 7 years, 8 years, it's like, what kind of a heart, Christian heart is that?
No, that's right. He was just angry because I found it. I found him out, but I was kind enough to keep things quiet. But so sad
Yeah.
for him.
All right. Well, I'll let you go.
Well, let me pray. Let me pray.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And thank you that Diane and I could meet today, and it's sad. The whole thing is disrupted, even today, interfered with our work. But Lord, thank you that I've been able to make progress behind the scenes. But even the perps yesterday, they did another thing of this blog, and so I have to take time and address that. So first of all, give me the wisdom, learn to know how to parse these different things to help people make sense of all this. And we know it's because I'm over the target. Lord, help me to continue to speak clearly to the issues that are being used as far as the agenda. They're targeting kids and women. So continue to give me wisdom. I continue to be with Diana and all the parts as they're continuing to put things together, as they're continuing to even still have more memories. So continue your process of bringing those up, but do it at a pace that she can process. I thank you for the opportunity that she's going to have with Emma. And we'll trust that you're going to use that in a very strategic way and give her the sense of how she should deliver the message to Melissa. Lord, open Melissa's heart and eyes to see the blind spots and see that she's now entertaining fools. So, Lord, thank you for your grace and your continued commitment and protection to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay.
They didn't win that one, did they? So good.
Okay. Well, we'll pick up on Friday.
Definitely. We'll do journals and all that. But I've sent them to you anyway, so you've got them.
Okay.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay. We'll talk then.
All right. Bye.